Hey guys, I am so excited for this week's episode. I am going to be talking to Samantha Stilley and interviewing her about her recovery journey. Sam was one of my coaching clients and she did the work that I talk about on the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode and really feed off of that energy and receive some hope from Sam's story today. I'm Rose Skeeters, host of From Borderline to Beautiful, a show about hope and recovery for BPD. All right, so today on the podcast we have Sam. Hey Sam, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. So we just want to talk about, I just wanted to have you on so we can talk about recovery, because I know a lot of people are curious, like, what's it like to work with me? Why aren't I doing DBT? Because I thought DBT was like the magical wand cure-all. And so I just wanted to have, you on. And I guess I'll have a lot of people on to figure out what my perspective is. And so you can tell people your story. What do you think?
That sounds pretty awesome to me.
Sweet. All right, cool.
Pretty
So,
excited.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So when were you first diagnosed with borderline personality disorder?
So I was 12 whenever I first started, going to psychiatrists, psychologists and stuff, to get tested and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And it was really funny because whenever they told my mom that I have borderline personality, she's like, okay, so Sam almost has a personality. That's cool. And I was 13 whenever I actually got diagnosed, and it took a hot minute for my mom, bless her heart, to actually figure out what borderline personality disorder was. But I have one, sometimes two. So
you were young, 13.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting, because I know that a lot of the times I'll get contacted by parents who their doctors don't want to diagnose their kids that young. So your mom didn't really think too much of it. What about you?
I mean, looking back, it's I wish I wasn't diagnosed that young, because I used it as a crutch for everything. I would rely on chaos and drama and this and that, and then whenever it became a problem, I'm like, oh, well, I have a disorder, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of, learning normal basic human skills.
Yeah.
But, I mean, with it being brought on trauma and stuff, I had a lot, so I'm not surprised that it was diagnosed as so young.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. Then I think that's why people are hesitant to diagnose it as that young, because that becomes your identity, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm doing this because I have BPD, so yeah. All right, what treatment had you done from 13 until before you worked with me, and did it work? What was it like?
So I've tallied it up, and my numbers, I'm lowballing these numbers just because I can't remember all their names. So
okay.
From the time I was 12-ish to the time I was 28-ish, off and on, I saw 7 different psychologists, roughly. That was outside of my hospital stays. That was just me going on my own. 5 or 6 different psychiatrists, 7 to 10 hospitalizations.
Wow.
I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic, since I started that when I was 13, but mindset coaching is definitely the one that worked. It was the most real one.
Mindset coaching? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do any treatment within that though? Are you just doing what is it like for you in therapy during all that's a lot of hospitalizations, a lot of treatment.
Yeah.
What did you learn?
Honestly, nothing. I learned that I got an excuse out of my schoolwork. Okay. I got to be the center of the show because, I knew how to be fun and whatever. And it was you get to be center of attention at the hospital and whatever. I liked going.
Yeah.
And there was one. I went to the same one time for 3 or 4 different times. and I just liked the staff. That was why. That's so sad.
I mean, I said the same thing.
I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
They don't really teach you much. They just kind of stick you in a bed and shove you full of medicine, and they're like, "Oh, cool, this works," kind of.
Yeah. So
then they send home.
Well, so you didn't do anything like formal. You didn't do any DBT or any CBT or anything like that, or did you just do it and like you were too young and you didn't realize it?
Yeah, I mean, like they give you worksheets and stuff like that, but like I don't remember any of them. So no, it wasn't like anything formal type stuff. No.
Okay. What about meds? So like during all that time, I'd have to imagine that they like hopped you up on lots of meds. So what meds did you take, and did any of them work?
I only remember 12 of them.
Oh no.
Tegretol, Depakote, lithium, Risperdal, Abilify, Zoloft, Klonopin, Xanax, Prozac, Valium, Lamictal, and Trazodone.
Wow.
Lithium is the only one that worked really good for me. Xanax and Klonopin worked for other reasons, unfortunately. But yeah, lithium was really the only thing that I remember and that actually did anything and was helpful. A lot of the other ones, they give you so many different ones, like to counteract the symptoms from this one, and then this creates this. None of them actually did.
Was Seroquel on that list?
I don't remember taking it. I may have at some point. I don't remember it.
So then, do you still take lithium? Because you said it helped you. When did you stop taking lithium? I guess.
About a week before I contacted you.
Okay. Do you feel like you need it still?
No, not at all.
All right. So tell us about, like a lot of people out there, they take a lot of medicine. So tell us about what lithium helped you with and why you just, can do without it now.
So it helped me keep like regular kind of ish to where like, yeah, I still got sad, but I didn't get like depressed, or like I got happy, but I didn't get like take your 6-year-old to Toys R Us happy. And so it kind of regulated things, but at the same time, like I operated on 3 hours of sleep. I could not sit still for more than 5 minutes. It was almost like it gave me ADHD. But now I don't feel like I need it because I think more clear. Like I see things for what they are now. I have more logical thinking, and like I don't necessarily feel like I can kind of mainline myself, like keep myself kind of leveled out.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So you stopped taking your medicine right before you and I started working together, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know that. Right? So we started working together, and Sam went off all of her meds, and she's fine. Yeah? I mean, fine, right? Like, that's a loose term, but you're not in hospital, you're not in distress.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
And honestly, what it was is, like, I wanted to, because, like, I found your podcast, and then I quit taking them, and then I called you. Like, I wanted to start treatment totally, like, clear-headed, fix everything, not just fix what my medicine didn't fix.
Okay, so how did you find me and the podcast?
Okay, so I was just tired of not having anything good, basically. And I mean, I'm sure that I did have stuff good. I did, but I was just tired of not feeling like a human being, I guess. And I was just tired of losing good people, and a lot of it was, it was not a lot of it. It was the BPD. And that's sad because I don't know, it just,
yeah, I mean, it is sad. It is sad, absolutely. I mean, it's hard because you have this diagnosis and this disorder, and your whole life is sort of going all over the place, down the tubes. You don't know who's connected with you. You don't know who, wants to be with you, right?
Right. And so this girl at work, she's a huge, like, podcast advocate. She's, like, listens to TED Talks on her way, and she got under my skin, to be honest with you, because she had her, like, stuff together, and I was jealous, and so we did not get along at all. But I started to see, like, this hateful, quote unquote, that I thought she was, maybe onto something. So I looked up BPD on my Google podcast thingy, and you were the first one that popped up, and your banner was pink, and I was like, hey, I like pink. So I clicked on it, and I started listening, and ta-da, here we are.
Awesome. So then what, why even, like, why reach out to me? Why start treatment now? Not even me, but, like, why start treatment now after knowing all that stuff that you had been through? Like, 7 to 10 hospitalizations is, like, a huge number. And then plus having gone through recovery, what's your mindset now versus then?
Versus, like, back when I was in the hospitals and stuff?
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm 30 years old. Like, it's time. I waited tables for, like, 12 years, something like that, 10 years.
Yeah.
And I got a grown-up job. Like, I mean, I have a career, so I might as well have that better mindset and realize that it is not the Sam show.
It is not the Sam show. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Let's transition to that. What was it like working with me at the beginning? And what, let's let everybody know, like, where you came from. So it's easy to say, like, oh, I stopped taking my lithium. I found this podcast. I'm, like, raring and ready to go, and now I'm good. But, like, we need all the meat in the middle, right?
Right.
Okay.
So
there we go.
I remember, like, talking to you, and afterwards I was just crying, and Rob's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, she's so mean. And he's like, she's mean? I was like, no, she's not mean, she's just honest, and she's blunt. And I think I told Rob you lacked sensitivity. But I'm, like, crying because I'm laughing. But then, like, in the same sentence, I would turn around and tell him that it's so nice to have somebody that speaks Sam, that understands what I'm saying without saying it, because I don't have words to say it. And I don't know. So it kind of sucked at first, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just my first, like, couple sessions. And then after that, I'm like, hey, like, I feel kind of better.
Do you remember what the hardest part was? Like, what were the things that I was saying that were, like, really difficult to hear that made it seem like I was mean or insensitive?
Well, most of the time it was, I never really, I guess, understood choice. And so it was like I would be complaining, and that's what it was. I was just complaining about stuff, and you're like, wait, like, you didn't have to do that, though. Well, yes, I did, because, well, no, like, you didn't have to do that. Like, they're not making you feel like that. Like, you're choosing to be upset. You're choosing this, or you're choosing that. And at first, I was like, no, shut up and listen. Like, you don't get it.
Yep.
And then, I don't know, it was just, the choice thing was really hard, and honesty. That was my big thing, because I would lie, and I still do, but I catch myself. Like, I'll say something, I'm like, oh wait, no, just kidding, that was a lie. But, like, before, even in middle school, so in middle school I had this friend named Sam, best friend ever, Sam Ray and Sammy Joe, whatever. It was cool, but we'd hang out all the time, and she had horses. And so there was some times when we would just sit around, watch movies, eat Cheetos in a sports bra, because we were middle schoolers.
Yeah.
But whenever I got home, my mom would be like, what'd you guys do? Oh, we went horseback riding and this and that. Just lie about stupid stuff. Like, does she really care what I did? No. Does it make 2 pounds to her if I watched Disney and ate snacks all day? No. But I had to make it this elaborate, crazy thing. And so, but I've done that forever. So breaking the cycle of lying about Cheetos or whatever it may be was hard. That was my hard part.
Yeah, and it was hard to hear me tell you that you needed to do that.
Yes, because I didn't want to. I needed to be interesting. I needed to be attention. I needed that.
Yeah.
And now I don't really care.
Yeah, and that's so honest.
Or not.
That's so honest that you even said that. Yeah, you're not out there riding horses. You're eating freaking Cheetos on the couch, chilling, right? But you had that's the mindset we have, right? To create things that aren't there, to somehow make us look different, even though there's just sometimes like no reason to do it, right?
Yeah.
So why keep working with me if I was so mean and insensitive?
Because I knew you were right. Like, it sucked to hear, Sam, you need to stop. You're throwing a temper tantrum. You're acting like a kid right now. That sucked to hear. But at the same time, after a minute, like, it sucks to hear at first because it's like, well, how dare you? Like, you're supposed to tell me, oh, it's fine. But then after a little bit, it sinks in that, holy cow, like, I'm being a tyrant. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think it's also because you don't even want to be that way, right? So I feel like a lot of the times in the beginning, I had to tell you all those things because it's not, you're doing it and you don't even realize you're doing it, right?
Yeah. Then after you realize it, it's it is childlike, and it's kind of humiliating because, well, even before I started working with you, like, there was times, and I'm sure anybody else would say that too, that there's times that you look back and you're like, holy crap, did I really just do that? But then you got to kind of roll with it, because by admitting that, oh shit, I realized that's wrong, that's even more humiliating. So you just kind of have to roll with it, but it's so nice to not have to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like freeing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So in the beginning, you felt a lot like Devin did on an earlier podcast. You were like, is this be crazy?
Yeah.
All right.
For sure.
So then you and I started with power of choice, which I do talk about in earlier episodes, but I think that's a harder concept to convey in a podcast. But basically, Sam is talking about how I explained to her that everything in life is a choice. If you think about things like a chess game, I make a move and then you make a move. And I'm not unworthy of making decisions in my life, whereas I would sometimes think that I am and that only other people can make choices and I don't have that power, and so then I wouldn't enforce that power. So when I talk to Sam about choices, I'm saying that she can choose whatever path she wants and then allow other people to make decisions and choose whatever they want, and that everyone can have mutual respect for those decisions. And then we went into moral compass work, right? Yeah. But like, is that how you understand the nature of choice? Because maybe you have a way that you can say it in a way that will make people understand a little bit better. And Sam,
so for me, I never wanted to make a decision because I was so scared that it was going to be wrong. Whether it be wrong for me or it's not what they wanted me to say or whatever. And so I'm still struggling with it sometimes even now, but like, I feel like it's so much easier for them to just tell me what to do, because if it's wrong, it's not my fault. And so I would always let other people make my decisions and all this and that and just do whatever they said I was supposed to do, because that is not another thing that, yet again, I'm going to screw up on. So just tell me how you want it done or what you want done, and I'll do it exactly like that. That way it doesn't come back on me. Right. And so, that it also comes down to, I've learned responsibility too. So
right, accepting responsibility for your actions. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and choice.
Yeah, and what's that?
And my choice for my actions, but yet accepting responsibility for the choices that I make too. So
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about moral compass work, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that journey and how it's helped you.
So, this one, it was easy, but at the same time, it was kind of difficult because before I still had that very black and white thinking, and like, it was hard I remember messaging you and I'm like, okay, so this is my understanding of this definition. Is this correct? And you're like, yeah. Or, you'd word it differently or something like that. So then I could, understand things. And I mean, that part's getting a little better. Like, I'm able to read between the lines and stuff a little more. So, but back then it was super hard. So I Googled all these definitions in like 3 or 4 different ways, wordings. But, like integrity and honesty, dependability, accountability, being trustworthy, being brave, like it's so important to have these and I just never realized it, I guess. So
what are the ones that you have to practice that you find yourself like coming back to consistently to maintain your recovery?
Bravery is a big one. Bravery and honesty are 2 huge ones for me. But also being humble is hard because I find it like I still kind of struggle sometimes with the, hey, look, I did something right, and just be humble about it. Like, it means more if you just do your thing and, if you have integrity, you did the right thing anyways. So, like, you just do you. You don't need somebody to pat you on the back because you paid your car insurance for 6 months. Be humble about that. Okay. Or you join the Y and never win.
What's your do you have your definitions there?
Yeah.
Can you
yeah. Oh, for integrity?
Read your definitions for your top 3. You said bravery, honesty, and humility.
Okay, so for bravery, I put being scared and doing something anyway. Humility, doing something without seeking praise for it. And then for integrity and honesty, I kind of link those into like the same thing. So they're on like the same definition, and put always tell the truth and always do the right thing, even when no one is looking, or when no one will know, but I will know.
Right. That's awesome. Those are really great definitions. So how do you get to the point where, I think this is a common question I'm asked a lot, and so this isn't something that I can really answer. This is only something that you can answer in your own journey. But like, how do you get to the point where we're working on moral compass work, and I tell you all these truths, and then we're done our session, and and then what? Like, what did you do, if you wouldn't mind sharing, to try to work on this stuff without me standing right next to you and telling you about it?
So for me, I always had something going on, something BPD related or something Rose related, or because we've got, our group on Monday night. I had my session on Wednesday. I would always listen to the podcast. I would split it between Friday and Saturday. So, there was always something going on to keep it present. And I have notebooks, a million notebooks, and they're all for different things, but my session one and my Monday group one, like that one stays in my purse all the time. So like if I'm having, a questionable mindset day, or, just if I need a minute or whatever, like I've always got my go-to, this is what we talked about 3 sessions ago. This is what we talked about yesterday, or, I've always got that to where I can keep it fresh.
So you're like studying your core values. Yeah. So when did you start? What's the first thing that you started putting into practice? Was it honesty?
Yes. And I was brutal. I was not a very nice human. Those pants are terrible, go change kind of honest. And I've learned that that's good, but I've learned softer gray area ways to be more honest now.
Right. But it's okay, right? That's like successive approximations towards the behavior we want, meaning like I just wanted you to be honest. So if you had to be brutally honest, okay. And then we talked about telling the truth in love, right? Telling the truth, but being kind about it and being supportive. Like when you said originally that I was insensitive, I think in the beginning I do come off that way, but now that that's like the opposite of true, right?
Oh, exactly. I mean, you're probably the most sensitive person I know.
Right. But it's about telling the truth and then like kind of balancing that out with love, right?
Right, exactly. So like, it's not insensitivity, it's caring. It's, hey, I care about you, and this, this is what you need to do to, like, preserve yourself or fix,
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you studied, and so Sam's talking about, we have a Monday night Facebook group, which I try to do every Monday night when I can. And then it's a support group. And then we were having sessions on Wednesdays when she was seeing me weekly. And she listens to the podcast, like she purposely waits, even though the episode releases on Wednesday. So she waits until like Friday and Saturday, splits the episode in two and listens to it. So she's doing that so that she can have this constant reminder of the work that we're doing together, and this constant reminder that she needs to be looking at her moral compass work, right? And that you need to be looking at your definitions, and that you need to really put that stuff into practice. So that's part of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's go. What's it like to be in recovery for you? What does it mean for you to be like, not have BPD and just be quirky?
It's nice. Like, it means that I am now, like, I'm not overthinking everything anymore. I'm not stressing over everything anymore. So, like, I've got all this brain space that I can now fill with things that I either enjoy or do not enjoy, but I'm doing them to figure out if I enjoy them. And it just, I mean, you said it earlier, it's freeing.
Yeah, for sure. What kinds of things are you trying to figure out if you like or don't like? Because you're talking about like identity development now, right?
Yeah. But for me, that is my like big part of my recovery, I guess, is because since I was diagnosed so young and everything, like I grew up being BPD, so I have no idea, anything. I've discovered that I don't like gardening in some capacities, and I don't like farm work, really. I have a cow, and I love him, but that's my farm girl experience. So the other day, Rob has this old-time hand crank ice cream maker, and he's like, hey, let's make some ice cream. I've never made ice cream before, so I was like, I wonder if I like that. And then my little rose voice popped in my head, and try it, see if you like it. I don't, folks. I don't like it at all. But I finished it, and I finished it because I needed to know if I liked it. I didn't even eat the ice cream. We scooped it out and stuck it in the freezer. I was over it. But I completed a task from beginning to end because, it's, how are you going to know if you don't like it if you don't even finish it?
That's right.
You might just not like the first part. You might love the last part.
That's right. That's awesome. So ice cream is this like small thing in this grand scheme of life, but it means that instead of focusing time spent on like negative thoughts and tantrums and worrying about people leaving you, that you're able to focus. I mean, how long does it take you to crank ice cream by hand? It's like
hours.
What's that? It took you hours?
An hour.
So she could spend hours, and she could commit to spending hours making ice cream. She didn't get frustrated, she didn't quit, she didn't give up, she didn't even eat the ice cream, but she started it and then ended it, and that is, all part of the journey, right?
Yeah, that I had enough, I don't want to say willpower, but I had enough something to actually finish a completed task, and that right there was worth it, even though I didn't like it at all.
Are you feeling lost, frustrated, or resentment towards your loved ones, your friends, your family, your partner, your kids? Are you looking for online counseling or mindset and life coaching because of this pandemic? Go ahead and check out thriveonlinecounseling.com. Again, that's thriveonlinecounseling.com. We offer secure, convenient, and confidential telehealth sessions. You can schedule your free initial consult right online or even pay for your first 60-minute individual session. Give us a call at 1-844-984-7483 if you have any questions at all. Let us be a part of your recovery journey. All right, right. So then, you just started out doing all these different things to figure out who you were, like, and that's what you're doing now, like the ice cream and the gardening. You're not a farm girl outside of that cow. But like, what else? If there's anything else you can say about recovery, what's it like? You worked hard. You went from like crying and being sad at the stuff I was saying. You used to think that everything was the Rob show, right? Robert's your boyfriend. And I told you it's not actually the Rob show. It's actually, you want everything to revolve around you. So you had to learn some really hard things. So why even continue on? And like, what's the reward? What's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
So good things. Like I focus a lot better at work now. So like, I'm a car salesman. I sell cars. But before, it was like on a bad day, it was like I didn't know how to cope with that. So like I'd sit at my desk and just be a blob that scrolls through Pinterest all day and not do my job. But since I've started recovering, since I've got back into it, I made salesman of the month. And so like it's helped a lot with work. It's helped a lot like with my personal life, like not just necessarily figuring out like what I do and don't like to do, but like what I do and I don't like as far as like being treated, what I do and I don't like as far as like significant other or just life in general. It's again, the word freeing comes up.
Yeah, freeing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Okay. So what happens when you have bad days now?
I don't just sit at my desk and be all mopey. A lot of my recovery happens at work because I'm there 5-6 days a week. I work, 10 plus hours a day sometimes. And so, my home life, that's where I get to practice like my coping as far as how to react in like whatever situation or whatever, but like my social stuff, that was huge for me. And so like on a bad day, like instead of just sitting there, like I throw myself into work. Like I make sure that I talk to a customer. Like you can't cry and be all sad if you're working, if you're making yourself enjoy the uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things about recovery that I found is extremely uncomfortable. However, that's when I feel the best after. So that's how I deal with my bad days. And like if I'm at home, if it's my day off and it's a crappy day, or if I had an exceptionally crappy day, during the day or whatever, if I was at work, bubble baths.
Bubble baths.
And bubble baths and music. But now, instead of wallowing and, listening to that music that brings you further down into the rabbit hole, I have like a positive, happier playlist, more upbeat music and stuff like that. So I'm able to cope with the bad days a lot better now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you remember when you told me that you would like sit on the floor in the shower? And like cry on the floor of the shower. So it's interesting that you say now that it's interesting that you say now that you take bubble baths and listen to happy music, because all you're doing really is transforming everything that you were before. And instead of looking at it through this lens of like pain and emotional intensity, it's more like, I like to be in water when I'm not feeling so great, and I like to be in the bath, but I don't have to be on the floor of my shower crying, listening to like really sad, depressing, hateful music and getting worse and wallowing. I can be in my bathtub with my bubble bath, and I can just be sad, and I can just be relaxing, and I can listen to happy music, right? Right.
Well, and I purposefully get like those aromatherapy, like bath salts and stuff. Like I get the orange one because it's supposed to be energizing, and citrusy is like, it gives you energy, and that's what you need whenever you're all down and out and you feel feelings or whatever. It's like that kind of helps me to break through my mood too. But yes, that was not a good time. I remember actually messaging you right after.
Yeah.
And I used to just sit on the floor of the shower. That's why I used to take such long showers. Now I'm like, I don't have time for this. I got stuff to do. But I mean, you know, in and out. But before, I really would. I'd be in there like 30, 45 minutes with the hot water. As long as it lasted, I was in there. And I would just sit there and bawl. And it was very depressing.
Yeah, for sure. You were stuck in it, and now you're sort of like reframing and doing things differently. That's so cool. It's awesome. All right, so let's talk about women's stuff and food and exercise. Right, so I haven't really talked about this a lot on the podcast. Yeah, I don't think I have. Man, it's probably sad that I forget, folks. Sorry about that, but I'm thinking that I don't talk a lot about this yet, and I do want to do episodes that are more specific. But with Sam and I talked a lot about how her mood swings, because we have hyperbolic temperaments and we're hypersensitive. Our mood swings with women, when we have our period and when we ovulate, they really play into how severe our perception of reality can become distorted, or like how severely distorted, our perception of reality can become. And when I first told you that, you were like, you're like, no, right? You didn't believe me.
I thought you were friggin' nuts. I was like, there is no dang way that these two are connected at all. Look at these other chicks. They're not psycho.
Yep, yeah. I remember one time Sam was having a tantrum, right? It was intense. And I was like, you're on your period. And she's like, I'm not doing it in this like way that a man would say it, right? Like, you're on your period. It's more like your perception is distorted right now. You're on your period. And she just didn't say anything back to me. We were texting. And I was like, here we go. So the bottom line is that there's a correlation between our intense mood swings and ovulation and our period. And I bet there are people out there who are like, no. And they swear that's not the case. Well, just like Sam swore that wasn't the case, you should track your ovulation and you should track your period, because whenever progesterone and estrogen are off in your body, that will affect your perception of reality, right? Sam, you want to tell it in your own words?
So, I mean, that's, yeah, basically, like, whenever you told me that, though, I thought you were off your rocker a little bit. I mean, that was part of the, what did I say? Oh, brutal. But, so I downloaded this little calendar thing on my phone, and you're like, just check it. 3 months, keep it on there. If it doesn't work, you know, if that's not the case, my bad, we'll get rid of it, whatever. So I use that daily. And, like, it's got cute little emojis you just tap on, whatever your mood is. But anyways, I do that, and then whenever I can feel myself start to feel off, or, you know, like I could just tear somebody's head off for breathing wrong or whatever, I look and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, breathe how you want. I'm just nuts today. It's fine. But just being aware of that makes it so nice, to where you can be like, I don't know, you just look at it and you're like, okay, so, you know, I'm not actually having a bad day. There's actually science behind this mood.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's like, you know, if you look at period and ovulation, man, like, it's like 3 weeks out of every month we get one good week. And I think because we're hypersensitive, you know, that shift and that hormonal shift, it's happening all the time. So it does play into the intensity of our moods. Is that the entire reason why we get upset? No. But it makes it worse. I think it makes it harder for you to see reality. And this month, I think you saw it, right?
Yeah, it was for sure this month. Like, it was not fun. But I ate like crap this month.
All right, so yeah. Tell them about food.
Oh gosh. So that was another thing I thought you were nuts about. I was like, great. So her husband does this workout coach, what's it called, trainer stuff, and now she's gonna tell me I can't eat bagels. And so for real, that's what I thought. I was like, man, not only do I get to vent, and she tells me I'm wrong, but she tells me I can't have frosted animal cookies either. Damn it. And so I gave that a shot, just like the little tracker deal. And I am telling you, within 3 days, I felt freaking amazing. Like I ate a lot, but like it was good. And like I remember going through the middle aisles of the grocery store, sending you pictures, and I'm like, "Can I eat this?" You're like, "No."
That's great.
Can I eat this?
Well, wait, let me
Stop.
tell them what we have to give them some context. So Sam is talking about me telling her that people with borderline personality disorder often have autoimmune diagnoses. And Sam doesn't have, you don't have a diagnosed autoimmune disorder, right? I'm right about that.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't been yet to check or anything.
Okay. So I'm always going off of theories and patterns of behavior that I see in other people. And so I asked her, commit to checking your period and ovulation, see if that's a thing. And it was a thing for her. And it was a thing for me, and it's a thing for a lot of people I work with. And the other thing I say is okay, well, like, if you're hypersensitive in your mood and your behavior and all of those things emotionally, you're also going to be hypersensitive to the things that you put in your body. So I think there's always a possibility that there's a dairy, gluten, soy, allergy, and also just like, how are the chemicals in the foods affecting your body? And I know that that was a big thing for me. So for Sam, when she noticed that her periods were a cause of her distorted perception of reality, I was like, okay, well, I need you to try to just commit to eating like paleo-esque, not low carb, not carbs are bad, but like sweet potatoes, whole foods, right? You were eating a lot of vegetables. She wasn't eating frosted animal cookies, poor thing. Right, so that's what she said.
I found other alternatives, though.
So what was it like for you were saying you would go through the middle aisles of the grocery store?
Yeah, so, like, just, like, even some of the stuff that, like, is in, like, the vegetarian aisle. I think I sent you a picture of cheese one time. It was, like, vegetarian cheese. And even that was, like, chocked full of crazy chemicals and, stuff like that. And so it was kind of disheartening when you're like, no, you can't have that. No, you can't have that. But it was cool because it was like, you can't have that, but here's why. And here's what you could do instead, a good alternative or whatever. And so I didn't really feel like it was too restricting. And just because you're not eating, something that comes down a conveyor belt in a package,
yeah.
Like there's still so much, like, just there's so many good alternatives.
Yeah, it's just about feeding yourself good, whole, nutrient-dense foods so that you make sure that you're not playing into that hypersensitivity by giving yourself, like, chemical-laden foods. And it's, it depends on you. You have to see for your body because, you thought I was crazy, but you tried it, right? And then what was the result for you? And it wasn't a diet, everyone. I want to preface, she wasn't on a diet. I actually had to tell Sam to eat more because it was like one smidgen of lettuce or something. Okay, that's a hyperbole, but like she wasn't eating enough. And the idea isn't that you're now dieting. The idea is that you're eating a lot of nutrient-dense foods, right?
Yeah. And so, like, I had eaten, like, pizza rolls and Hot Pockets and Taco Bell and whatever for lunch and dinner, it was just, that's my comfort food. It was great junk. And so, but, like, I want to say it was literally about 3 days. And I was like, man, I am starving all the time. And I even messaged you. I'm like, man, I'm so hungry. You're like, eat. I'm like, really? It's only, 10:30 or whatever. I already had, you're like, so? It's good stuff. And, like, I didn't realize how much my body craved food. Like, I was not eating food. But whenever I started, actually getting the hang of it, like, I could think clearer, too. There wasn't this, like, weird, hazy fog or, like, I don't know, sometimes almost like a dream state. Like, you're awake, but it's almost like like you're not living it, you're watching it, I guess, kind of. Like, I didn't have that. It was just changing my diet changed a lot of stuff. And my periods was even better after dealing, like, changing the way that I was eating and stuff. Like, I found that I didn't get as cranky, for a lack of a better term. I wasn't, like, raging cranky, and it was good.
That's awesome. That's a good way to put it. And you've seen, like, you haven't stayed completely paleo because it's difficult to do that, or completely, like, whole foods. So you saw this month that you didn't, and you had a different reaction, right?
Oh, yeah. It was horrible. And, like, you can almost, like, feel your mind slipping back like your way of thinking and like your cramps and moods and everything slipping back to the way it was before. But because of the BPD, I just didn't have my task initiate. I didn't have the drive to be like, man, I need a zucchini.
Right.
It was
exactly.
like, man, I really need those gummies.
Yeah. So it's an ongoing process, the diet and nutrition stuff, and it's figuring out really what works for you. But she, Sam's been great in committing to things that she just kind of blindly trusted me and jumped in. She committed to all these things that she thought I was crazy for saying for, and she's like really reaped the benefits. So now, like we talked about in the beginning, power of choice, she can go and choose. Now that she had a horrible experience with her period this month, next month I'm sure she'll get closer to eating more whole foods, and so that will shape her behavior forever, because she'll always know well, this is what I have to fall back on. I felt that what it feels like to have nutritious foods versus bagel bites. I mean, I used to love bagel bites. That's why I laugh because I was the same, and I also fall off the wagon on occasion, and I just did recently, and I had an awful period too. So it's really important for us to be aware of our temperament always. Recovery doesn't mean you just wake up and you're like, cool, I'm good, I'm done. Recovery is an ongoing journey. But I think life is an ongoing journey for people, right? Yeah. All right.
Sure.
I just want to talk briefly about movement, and then we'll go to our last two questions. So movement was something you did join the YMCA because I was saying that physical exercise was important, but you didn't even need to go to the YMCA because you live on a 50-acre farm, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I never actually went, by the way.
Okay.
I paid and I have a card, and then it was just one of those I joined.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually do anything if you don't go.
Right, but you did do the thing I asked you to do, which was you matched your emotional intensity. I remember that day very vividly because you were in a low point. You had a fight with your partner, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I need you to go out and do something physical, and I need you to blast in your ears happy music. And what did you do that day?
I went out and I weed-eated probably a half a mile of fence that day.
Yep.
And it took a long time, but I did. I mean, I had my phone in my pocket, my headphones in, and it was, at one point towards the end, I looked back because I had to refill my weed eater string or whatever. So I put it down and I grabbed my string and I looked back and I was like, holy cow, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was just doing my thing. I was just finishing my weed eating, and I looked back, I was like, wow, I got a lot done.
Yeah.
But it felt so good after. And after I weed eated, I went and I helped work on a roof. And then, I mean, that entire day, by the time I got home at the end of the day, I was so exhausted that I really had no problem sleeping that night at all. I didn't have to do melatonin or, Benadryl or anything. Physical activity was awesome. It helped so much.
Yeah, so physical activity is really important, and there are things that, because we have BPD, we're not going to go out. Sam doesn't go out and do that every single day because she's working on self-discipline, and also just because she's not always that dysregulated. She doesn't have to, but when you do have to, you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, even if it happens, at work, I'm lucky, I guess, to have a place of business where you get paid to go outside and walk around. And so, I am able to, even in the middle of the day, if I need it, I'll go walk the lot, take inventory, do all these other things that I don't have to do, but it helps.
Yeah. Awesome. So track your period, choose nutritious foods, see if you have an allergy to dairy, wheat, gluten, soy. And, I say paleo because that's a good framework, but you can just think of eating whole, nutritious foods, and you want to do movement. And we'll go more into depth with that, but I just wanted you to see that, part of one of the biggest reasons for Sam's success is that she thought I was nuts, but she did it anyway. And she trusted me throughout the whole process, and she just ended up thriving because of it. All right, this has been awesome. So let's just go into our last questions. And what advice do you have for people out there struggling or people questioning whether or not they can recover?
So I guess the biggest thing that I learned would be that I am stronger than I thought I was, because that I never really had like the self-confidence really to think that, I mean, I thought I was just going to be a waitress for the rest of my life, which there's nothing wrong with that. I loved it and I make great money, but I just thought that, that was going to be me making wrong, terrible decisions and, having this job forever. But now I see that, like, I'm more than that. Like, I'm not just somebody who makes terrible decisions. I'm somebody who makes mistakes and learns from them. I'm somebody who, is more sure of themselves than I was before. I learned trust. I mean, obviously, like, I had to trust you with my mind, basically. Yeah. Like, with everything, every aspect of my life, I messaged you. And, some of it was TMI stuff, but that's okay because, BPD affects literally every aspect of our lives. And,
yep.
It took a lot for me to reach out for help, too. Because, I mean, yeah, I was diagnosed, like, so young, like 12, but, I mean, I'm a 30-year-old grown woman. Like, who wants to be an adult and be like, hey, I need help?
Yeah, it's hard.
But it was probably the best decision of my life. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, and you, for everybody out there listening, I know I had Jay, and I get this question a lot because I was really fortunate in having Jay help me. So I have this awesome husband who's very patient, very kind, and was able to be my corrective relationship. And for Sam, I don't know, maybe I was Sam's corrective relationship, but she didn't have, she's got a partner, right? And, and not to tear anybody down, but Sam did this on her own. She's doing it for herself on her own. She doesn't have that same level of support that I had with Jay. And so if you're out there wondering if you can do it, just you can. The way that Sam did it is that it devoted all of her everything to it, right? That's what you did.
Yeah.
That's what you are doing.
Yeah, you just do it. Like, I mean, if somebody's a single mom, how do you raise your kid? Like, you just do it. How do you do recovery? You just do it. Like I said before, like, I've got 1,050,000 notebooks. I have a huge purse for a reason. Like, I carry, like, everything with me all the time. I've got my Bible in my purse all the time. I've got my session book in my purse all the time. There's always something for every feeling with me all the time. And so you just, like, I've noticed people with BPD, especially myself, like, I find this one thing and I get obsessed with it. And that's what I did with my recovery. Is it was my hobby. It was my passion project. It was my recovery. And that was one thing that we had talked about, was find your passion project and, do it from start to finish, all of that. Well, I couldn't really find anything except for what my recovery was my passion project. Kicking BPD's butt was the one thing that, I was passionate about redoing a Jeep for a minute. I was passionate about, all kinds of different, I have 1,050,000 different old windows because I was going to paint them all and sell them. I have like 3, but, my recovery and, my mindset and everything that was my passion project. And so that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to put it, because you're right. Like, a lot of people say, well, do you believe in recovery? Can I recover? I don't know if I can do this, but we can do all these other things. I mean, I can think of, just like you, so many random things that I went on crusades for that I was passionate about, right? And that's how I recovered. You have to make it your business to recover. It has to be the most important thing in your life, and that's what you did. And you just make it your business, right?
Yeah. Well, and especially, like you said, not everybody, does have what you have as far as, that person that, your corrective relationship. Not everybody has that. And I don't. And so I think that you were definitely correct. And so, like, you were most definitely correct in that not everybody has that corrective relationship. that you do have to do it by yourself sometimes. And I did, it's harder to do by yourself, but I mean, like you said, you were my corrective relationship, so it wasn't necessarily a significant other that has to be that for somebody. So even if you've got like a best friend or, somebody who just wants what's best for you, it doesn't have to be like, your boy or your guy or whatever, like anybody, as long as they want what's best for you.
Absolutely. That's really great advice. So do you believe that recovery is possible?
Most definitely.
Awesome. And so what's next for you?
Figuring out what else I can make choices about now that I can. I mean, I always could, but now that I actually realize it, like, there's so much that, like, I look forward to going out by myself. I never wanted to do that. I hate that. I hate social stuff, but I like being uncomfortable now to that kind of extent. Like, I want to go see a movie by myself. I want to take myself out to dinner and sit in a corner and just, read a book, wait for my food. Like, all of these things that I was so scared to do before, like, recovery gives you so much self-confidence. Like, it's exciting. I look forward to living in it.
That's amazing. You're like loving life.
Yes.
I hear that.
Very
I feel
much
the same way. It's a big adventure now, and it's not a big scary thing, right? It's not perfect.
Right.
Nope. But it's good.
Yes, very.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview, Sam. I hope this helps for everybody out there who are struggling and who are, you're doing your moral compass work, but it's just not doing it for you. Like maybe there's some other level of commitment that you need to make, or maybe there's some of the things that Sam here said today that made sense to you. But yeah, if you need any help, just reach out, and I'd love to connect with you. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks for listening. That was From Borderline to Beautiful, a production of Thrive Mind Body LLC, online coaching that helps frustrated individuals, resentful couples, and disconnected families navigate through tough times. Visit us on the web at thriveonlinecounseling.com. If you like this show, remember, you can hear it on Anchor or Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts or any app that you use to listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get a new episode every Monday. If you want to get in touch, you can leave me a voice message. Some of you had some comments and questions from the last episodes, and I'd love to hear whatever questions you have too. Just download the Anchor mobile app, search for From Borderline to Beautiful, and tap the message button to send me a voice message. We'll have all those links in the show description. Okay, we made it. Thanks again for listening. I'm Rose Skeeters, and I'll be back next week with another episode of From Borderline to Beautiful. Talk to you then.